Hello, I'm Brenda Gutierrez with the Salina Area United Way, and I'm your host for Strictly Salina. Today, joining us on Strictly Salina, we have Julie. Julie, welcome to Strictly Salina.
Hi, Brenda.
Thank you for joining us, and we'd like to jump right in with our questions and have you share. Today, Julie's going to share about One Salina, and I know Julie wears lots of hats because we've been on different boards and committees and worked together. And what is One Salina, and what do they do?
So One Salina formed after we had a Talk Salina, which is just kind of a roundtable discussion platform that happens across the nation. We have it here in Salina as well. And so back in, I believe in spring of 2018, I think it was March or April, Greg Stevens organized one of those, and the topic was coming to America, who should we welcome and what should we do? So the topic was immigration. After that meeting, there was a lot of interest in how we are encouraging diversity and being a welcoming community in Salina. And so Greg sent a survey out and several people were interested. And from there, we started meeting in a nutshell, that's how One Salina formed. We started meeting regularly and like-minded. Some people have joined that never attended the Talk Salina meeting. And so that's cool. And so we started really like 5 people in a room talking about what we wanted to do and quickly jumped to 30. Now I would say we're probably roughly edging on 10, 12 people that regularly attend, but the email list is much larger than that of people who stay connected and send ideals and questions. So, and that's kind of how we formed a little bit there. So our goal really is that we're just a group that we're kind of working together. We want to really foster cultural and ethnic inclusion through education and support in our community, and how we can be truly welcoming, because I can know my neighbor, like, hi, how are you? And we wave at each other, but truly, do I know my neighbor? Like, do I know their kids? what are they doing? And so working on really welcoming people, not just being okay that our neighbor's over there. So.
And the group that's meeting,
Yes.
What do you think, what do you want to achieve? What are just some of the things that the group is working towards when you think about being more welcoming and Salina?
Right. So pre-COVID, shutdown, our goals were working on activities that we already have in the community. So like the Santa Fe Days, the street fair, Discover Salina Naturally, eventually the River Festival, plugging into some of those things that are already going on and making sure we're including more diverse activities in those that are welcoming to other cultures, because it's very Kansas, very Salina, those activities. And so adding things that might, speak to the Hispanic culture or to the, the Philippines or the Vietnamese or wherever someone is coming and living in Salina, to draw them out and make them feel more part of our community. And then adding some new events that are hosting those types of things, and kind of educating people about Salina's diversity, because it's huge. It's 50 plus countries are represented in Saline County. A lot of people don't know that. And those aren't people who are just like, their great grandparents, they're first generation people living in Saline County. So making sure they're represented in activities, and then also that there are resources in our community for them, resources to help them, meet the needs they might need. If they need interpreters to be able to meet those needs, how are we providing that in our community, and how can we help them meet those needs and get those resources that they need?
You mentioned a couple of the things are outdoor and family friendly. I was glad to hear that when you think about Discover Salina Naturally,
Yes.
things at the River Festival and events at the different parks. There's 40 some parks in Salina. And when you think of that many parks, we'd be out and about and seeing people and interacting. I do believe that COVID has gotten more people outside and in the fresh air. Even if you're with your group and your family and you're distancing some, now, how has the group adapted to be, more welcoming now with the shutdown or with the caution and the social distancing?
Yes. So we actually took a break because many of us were so caught up in trying to figure out how we were working from home in our our jobs and our professions and things, and how we were schooling from home and doing everything from home. So we decided from the shutdown until probably August, we took a pretty big break and stopped meeting so people could really find their footing again and adapt to our new normal for a while, per se. And so we started meeting again in August. And initially our goal in August and September was, how are we reaching, because there seemed to be a lot of discrepancies in especially the Hispanic community about how they were getting information about COVID. So we kind of took a pause and we started looking at resources for that. And we worked together with the Catholic Charities and a group that's going on there, Jose Pinado. He has a Facebook page. And so we got him to start adding stuff to that Facebook page and just trying to share with our families that that information is out there. And I do believe there's still some projects going on of trying to get more information. I think Salina Media Group has something going on about with that as well, to get information out in Spanish to families. Correct. So we kind of took a little diversion there and started working on that. At our last meeting, we started talking about, and they're all Zoom, we're meeting Zoom, but what kind of outdoor activity maybe can we host in the future? Because we don't know what's going to happen 3 months from now, 6 months from now. So even looking further out into to next summer, what that might look like and how we can keep people involved that way. So,
well, I would add to that, listening. So you heard people say this was missing, or we don't know. These people are missing, this language is missing. And then when I think about a couple of the events that you were involved in, there was a really, really big map, and you had people put a pin or make a note where they were from, you know, what is important. And when you look at all the different pins that were all over the map, yes, and listening to people, this is where I'm from, and how you say the name of wherever they're from. Now, from Central Kansas, so I talk like somebody from Central Kansas.
Right. Yes.
Listening to people, and when they're reminiscing or they're telling you a story about someone that maybe family back home or something that was important about their house back home, that was something to bring to Salina. And how are we welcome here? You know, what we may do is, you know, you take them some food, you take them a plant. Well, what is important to them, and taking the steps to listen. I'm so glad to hear that's one of the things that the group is continuing. And even though it's on Zoom, they do some course changing as different priorities come up, and also with some of the folks' jobs, because there are so many different businesses represented, from what I understand. On One Salina is an
yes,
open group. It's not a by membership. It's not under any one organization.
No.
They have representation from schools and businesses and nonprofits, and seems like quite a variety,
yes,
from what I understand.
Yes, that is exactly right, Brenda. We do, it's completely open, open table, anyone can attend, and we do have representation from quite a few, the school district, mainly, and then we also have Catholic Charities, United Way, the art cinema, or Salina Art Center, the museum, Smoky Hill Museum, and then several just private businesses as well, and individuals. We have a couple of individuals that aren't connected to any business or agency in town. They just come on their own time because they are interested in helping us. So, and I'm glad that you mentioned listening. So we do have some ideals out there of how to share those stories that you were talking about. So that is a project that's also kind of been worked on. It kind of got put on the back burner as well because of COVID, but some new ideas are coming up that maybe we can start sharing those on our Facebook page. So we're exploring that. So that, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we do want to be able to share people's stories. And so we do have a One Salina Facebook page, and we're hoping to be able to start sharing people's stories of how they ended up, you know, how did they come to Salina and what brought their family to Salina, and then what life was like for them at home and how that journey was arriving here in Salina and things like that. So
now, would you say the Facebook page, that's one of the ways, if somebody wants to find out more, following the Facebook page would be a good way to find out more?
Yes, that would be a perfect way to find out more. And then also emailing me, and I can give my email. Do you want me to go ahead and give it now? I
Yes,
mean,
that'd be great.
Yeah. So I just use,
yeah.
So I work for the school district, and I just use my school district email because that's the number one place that I'm going to check the most. So it is Julie, Julie, Bretado, Bretado, at usd305.com.
Well, I appreciate, because at Heartland Early Education, the folks that you work with, so you have an experience
Yes.
of, and all the different ages, kids, you're part of a family, part of other people's family, and hearing and knowing how you can support those folks. When you
Yes.
think about a barrier or an obstacle that you've overcome with welcoming people, you feel like there's something that the group has done, and then you heard after the fact people felt more welcoming, or they knew more about Salina and felt more comfortable?
I think that our table at Discover Salina Naturally probably had the most people at it, and then it also at the Smoky Hill the Smoky Hill Santa Fe Days type event that they do.
The street fair.
But yeah, the street fair. Thank you. So at both of those events, I feel like just being present at those, lots of people came up to us and said, "Thank you for doing this. We are so excited to see you. We want to know that we want people to feel welcome here, and that they, that we are accepting." So that, it was something simple and small, but hearing from the community over and over again that this was something they wanted to see in Salina and something that they were excited about. We got lots of names from both of those events of people that were interested in helping with different types of things. So I think that was probably the number one thing, even though it's a small thing. It is very, that's very small, but it was a good event that we had. And then also we partnered with Teresa Hernandez, and she put on a Dia de los Muertes event at the downtown at the Masonic Temple. And it was that also, we heard a lot of from the Hispanic community, we heard a lot about, thank you for, partnering with Teresa to make this happen, and making, that part of our cultural feel like we could have some place to celebrate that, and also then share with the Salina community that day of tradition that they have and how they celebrate that. And so those are probably the things that stick out the most to me. I'm sure there's probably other things, but just the hearing back from the community that they're glad we've started.
We know what Thanksgiving is, but to know what are some of the other traditional, and people, certain churches or families have traditions with potlucks and food, and we know how food brings people together. So when you think about kiddos want to watch movies and have snacks, and the adults want to sit around and visit and eat, and then you have to visit, offering that opportunity in a neutral shared space.
Yes, it was very nice, because it was a potluck, and then they did show the movie, Coco, the movie. So yeah, it was very good.
So those kind of things, to let our viewers know that that's an example of something that this group has shared with the community, and they're looking for other ideas. And when you come with the idea, we will say, please stay and help us implement the idea, is what I say with some of my committees. And I know that would be helpful for yours.
Yes, that's exactly what we try to say to people when they join our committees. So definitely.
They have the idea, they might have more research. So you feel like if somebody wants to get involved separate from, say, the Facebook, they would contact you by email. That's the best way to get involved?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way. And also even on Facebook, they could message me on Facebook from the One Salina. It is connected to my personal Facebook, so I get the notifications pretty regularly. That way I can get back to people. But email is probably the number one way, since I'm at my desk every day and check my work email every day. So
how was when I think about what's next, first I would like a little bit of history. How was the name One Salina? How did you come about the name?
We actually met after our initial get together, where we had, those first 5 people that were around the table, that then quickly grew to, I think at one time we were meeting 30 plus people in the beginning were meeting. And so we started talking about what kind of message do we want our name to say, and how do we portray in a message what we mean by a name. And so we started by survey taking ideals, and so we narrowed it down to about 6 or 7 ideals, and then we voted. We did a little democratic process there, and we voted, and One Salina won that. And so we just want people to know it's like One Salina, we are one. We want to be one, and we want to welcome everyone into Salina. So that's kind of how we came up with our name. And we do talk about, that's what we do. We are a welcoming group that is excited about cultural and ethnic diversity. So we want to make sure people realize that's what our goal is. So.
Well, and on the business entity, thinking the nonprofits, the for-profits, the individuals, the businesses, and what some of the meetings that you had that had the large amount of participation, what were the topics of the meetings, if you could share that?
She'll make me go back and think here, Brenda. We actually had when we very first started, it was a lot of topics about what we wanted to do as a group and what our goals were. So once we established those, then we would start we had speakers come, or like from the group, people share about what if they're with an agency, what their group was doing. So someone from St. Francis Ministries came and shared about how they work with the immigrant community or welcoming new people to Salina and things like that, and what their role is in that and what services they have. We had the school district come and speak about the Seal of Biliteracy, which is a exam that our high schoolers can take. And it's more than just being able to read and write in a second language. It is being able to read, write, and communicate effectively, verbally, and, in writing as well, and really get their message across both ways. And it's a very big deal. A lot of people don't know about it, but it's a big honor for those students who get to take that test. So we had those that they come and talked about that a little bit, and what the school district is doing to welcome their community, immigrants into the school district, and how they meet the needs of those varying families, because schooling might look different from different countries, different families, that kind of thing. And we've had Julia Ramos from the city of Salina came, and that she started talking a lot about things the city is doing. And so we've collaborated a little bit with the city, and I think that collaboration brought a lot of people to the table. And just on how they were working with the community to make sure the police department and the city department and city agencies are aware and respectful of different cultures and how they might communicate differently and how to make people feel safe in our community. So we've kind of collaborated and given her some ideas and participated in some different meetings and things that have gone on with that as well. And I'm not sure where that process is due to COVID as also. I feel like it's been kind of tabled for, I think they're working. Yeah, I think it's kind of paused. They're kind of working on it as much as they can, but the pandemic and the shutdown kind of has changed the trajectory of everybody's thinking for a little bit. So.
Well, yeah, I know when you think about law enforcement, the fact that they've had the ability to do some of the mental health first aid
Yes.
for adults, mental health first aid for youth, and then some of the programs that they have either childhood books in their car or maybe a stuffed animal in their car. When you think about what is welcoming, and there's language as a barrier or body language, yes. And now, especially if you picture someone, you don't really see their mouth moving just like this when I cover my face because of a mask.
Exactly.
So they see someone in a uniform. What does that mean?
Right. Exactly.
What does that mean if the county sheriff, or does it mean that you're the waste management? I mean, in different cultures, that uniform has a different impact.
Exactly.
I believe how we can help people understand what it means in Salina and what any of the nonprofits can help interpret. And
right.
I know there's been open houses. You folks do the big truck night. And
yes.
Oh my goodness, every shape and sound and color of thing with a motor is out there. It's almost takes over the block, yes. And it is so welcoming. I feel like that would be another example of your organization lifting up. It's welcoming to the neighborhood. It's welcome to the community, and all the different things with the motor there that come. And
right, yes.
Everyone can experience that at their own pace during a couple of hour event. And there's some snacks and good conversation if it's in a safe place. And early evening, things like that are happening in the community, and we hope that they can happen again. But knowing that,
yes.
I feel like I see action from what One Salina does. So
yes, I think so too. We went, Julia Ramos from the city and I both went with Greg Stevens and presented at K-State when they were having an engagement, and he talked a lot about the ripple effect.
Oh.
And so how a small action that one group or one person is doing then ripples out. And so from that, we kind of looked at what One Salina had done and what that ripple effect was. And that's where it kind of led to like, oh, we had this meeting, and then this agency decided, oh, we're going to do this. And then this agency said, oh yeah, we're going to do this. So there are a lot of ripples and a lot of effects that have happened and things that have come forward. One of them was the city had their Beyond Diversity event. Did you attend that, Brenda?
I didn't. But I heard
Okay.
about it, so I'm glad
Yes.
that worked out.
Yes, it did work out. It was the first one, so it was attended well, but I think it could have been attended better with some maybe if people were aware.
Now, education again, what we're talking
Yep,
about.
yep,
Yes.
exactly. So One Salina was there, and that was awesome because we had step dancers, we had Swedish dancers, we had some, I'm not sure what some Mexican dancers that were doing like their traditional Dia de Guadalupe dances and things. So, and there were some other groups. We had some artists. One of them was Pretty, who's from India. And so it was awesome to see that. And so One Salina wants to reach out to Julia and the city and be like, are you going to do another Beyond Diversity? And can we partner with you and work on that project? So, because that was exactly, it was really cool to see all the different dances and things from different cultures and people together celebrating. So
I'm glad to learn. Thank you for sharing with our viewers today that there is more to come. That even though we're working from Zoom, or even though we're working from social distancing, having those conversations and still inviting people. People want to come and listen. If they just want to say tune in to your Zoom meeting, once they contact you, then they could just listen and find out more, get to hear the group. And then if people want to set up a phone conversation after that, or a FaceTime or another Zoom, kind of like a subcommittee meeting to continue that progress. Not everything is on pause, just staying healthy and definitely supporting all the protocols that are going on in our community, and still embracing and people's traditions, people's values. It sounds like just the way that you've shared about, passionate about having this be successful. So anything else that you wanted to add today?
The only other big project I forgot to mention, and I do want to bring it up because it's been hard and we're going to keep working on it, but is finding an interpreter database. That is a big passion of mine, and it's not on pause because of COVID. It's on pause because we haven't quite figured out how to find those interpreters that are willing to have their name on that list, and how then we distribute it to the community. So it started out and we sent some surveys out and some things happened, and then it kind of just hit a lull. So if anyone out there is listening has any great ideas about that, be sure to reach out to me because we would love to hear them.
Yes, translators and multiple languages and in the community.
Yes, in the community.
Yeah, that would stay in the community. Because I know there's a lot of resources that you would pay an extra service and pick up the phone. But we're actually, am I understanding right? You want the person-to-person contact?
Yes, person-to-person contact. We are looking for in the community interpreters of different languages. Some of the languages are hard to find. There's a lot of, so that's getting more diversity in that area. But then also all of my families that I've worked with, especially in the Spanish language, talk about using that phone is just like with our mask right now with our faces covered. It leaves a lot, they feel like they're missing some of the information, and maybe there's a disconnect there, and they really want someone with them, supporting them, interpreting in person. So
there's the need. That's our call to action. Interpreters.
Yes, there's a huge need for interpreters in our community. So yes.
Good. Well, it sounds like you have work to do and things that are going to continue with One Salina. Thank you, Julie, for joining us today on Strictly Salina.
Yes.
I'm Brenda Gutierrez with Salina United Way and your host for Strictly Salina. And Julie is at work from her office at Heartland. And she has a big heart, obviously, to help folks and help organize people. We sure appreciate everything you've done, Julie.
Yes. Thank you, Brenda, for having me today.